yesterday we learned the argument of Rav and Shmuel. We discussed it at length. We discussed about the different heterim, the different leniencies of being able to stop or start a pasuk in the middle. We have many scenarios that are part of our davening, or part of our liturgy of prayers and rituals that seem to contradict this concept of not being able to have a half a verse. And we spoke about the different exceptions to the rule. Our Gemara says that Shmuel holds that here you have to stop in the middle. You break a pasuk up in the middle. Rav doesn't seem to like that option. He likes the idea of doileg, of being going back over it. And basically these two views, Rav and Shmuel, are neither of them are saying that this is the ideal way to do things. It's just in the last option, there's no other choice. So you have to pick the better of both evils. So each one has what they consider to be the better one of the two options. But this is not, we normally wouldn't do things this way. Doileg and or paisek. We don't normally do these type of options of stopping a pasuk in the middle or just going over a pasuk, having someone reread a pasuk that was read already by the previous Baal Koirei, the previous person who got the Aliyah, already read it. Now,
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yeah.
Something is bothering me, and that is normally doleg, the definition of doleg means to skip.
Yeah. So here it means go back. How does it fit with the literal translation of the word? Is that your question?
Yeah. So how can something basically mean one thing and then contradict itself and mean something and mean the opposite?
So I think because doileg means, as you say, it means to skip or to hop, or so it seems that in the Hebrew you could go, it could be skipping back, hop backwards or hop forwards, So it seems like it has both options. In other words, in English, I guess you normally skip means like skip the line to, but hopping could be both ways. The word means like to skip or to hop or to jump. So it's so here we're or leap. Maybe that would be a better translation. So it's not necessarily are you leaping forward. You could leap back. It seems like the Gemara uses it interchangeably. So doileg could mean backwards as well. So anyway, the Gemara says that the reason why Shmuel doesn't like the concept of being doileg, of going backwards, is because of this gzeira mishum hanechnasin and mishum hayotzin. So it's not exactly because of we don't want to repeat, but it's that it creates a problem of people who come late and people who leave early, and they're not going to know about the three verses, that there's a minimum of three verses, three psukim, and how was it done. So Shmuel doesn't like the idea of doileg because of the consequences that could come out of it, and therefore Shmuel believes the Paisik option is better. Now the Gemara then brings a brisa, and the brisa basically shows us that you're not supposed to do either of these two things, because if you have a portion that only has 5 verses, only one person is supposed to get that aliyah. So how could our Gemara go into the two ways of making 5 verses work for two people if the Brisa clearly says that's one person? That's for one person. That's not for two people. You can't stretch it. The Brisa doesn't give an option. So the Gemara answers, yeah, our case is a case called we're stuck. We're in a bind, and we need this. We need a heter. We need to find some uh, loophole to do this. So in other words, this is allowed in the last resort, but in the regular scenario, this is not appropriate, and therefore the Brisa doesn't mention such an option because the Brisa is talking about, hey, you're reading in the Torah. You could always read more. It's a Monday and Thursday. You want to read extra. You could always read extra. You could read more than the minimum 3 verses. So you'll continue reading. You only have a 5-verse paragraph, so read 5 verses. It's going to be more than 9 verses, no problem. Islay Ravacha, there's the Gemara, the term in the Gemara. Islay Ravacha, you have space. You can go forward. It's not a problem to read more. Regarding the Ma'amadas, the prayers that we're talking about for the Israelites that are gathered in their synagogues, there's a problem with doing more. You could say, oh, why don't we also do more? Let's just continue reading on to the third day, first day, the second day. On the first day, that was on the Sunday, let's read the day 1 of creation, day 2 of creation, and day 3 of creation. Then we don't have a problem with limitations of verses. We have extra verses. Well, the thing is that we explained that there is a necessity to only do 2 days of creation on each day, because if you do more than that, you'll end up having jealousy in the days of creation. That Sunday will be read, the paragraph of Sunday will read day 1, 2, 3. Monday will read 2 and 3, and Tuesday will read 3 and 4. It'll end up that day 3 got like 3 readings out of it. And day 3 of creation will be jealous. It'll be a jealousy in Maisa Bereshis, and that's one of the things that we are not meant to do. Lahato kina b'maisa Bereshis, and therefore we can only do, each day only reads 2 days, and that doesn't cause any jealousy. And the other thought was, well, you need to do 2 days. There's no other option. But to do 3, you do have another option, which is that you could be doileg or paisik. So in other words, again, it's what is the better of these 3 evils? Yeah, I could do more and go a little outside of, do an extra paragraph that's not exactly connected. You could do doileg or you could do paisik. So basically, the fact that you could do doileg or paisik seems to be the better option, and that's the other answer. Then the Gemara spoke about the fact that the Mishnah doesn't have a comma, so it leaves it vague if Musaf is similar to Shachris or if Musaf is similar to Mincha. What is this about? It's about reading the Torah by heart. Shachris, we read the Torah from a scroll. Mincha is definitely read by heart. Musaf, is it similar to Shachris or is it similar to Mincha? So the question is where you put the comma. So the Gemara brought a brisa that it says Shachris and Musaf, they go to shul, they read the normal way, and Mincha you read by heart. So it seems to spell it out pretty clearly that Musaf was similar to Shachris, and you would read it from a scroll, and Mincha you could read by heart. And then you had Rabbi Yossi who says, what? You have one person being moitzi everyone else. You're going to have someone have in mind all the other people, and you're reading it by heart. You can't do that. So Rabbi Yossi says everyone has to read it, and that's read individually, which basically means that the Tanakama doesn't hold that way. The Tanakama holds that one person could be moitzi other people, even though you're reading it by heart. And normally reading something by heart does have rules and prohibitions about it, especially to be mitzi, to have in mind other people. So one of the heterim here for the Tanakama, how does the first opinion allow one person to be mitzi, to have in mind everyone else and fulfill their obligations by him reading it? He's fulfilling everyone else's obligation. If that is one of the main scenarios where you're not allowed to do things by heart, and he's doing it by heart, and he's fulfilling, helping others fulfill their obligation. So one of the Hadran, one of the leniencies is that these verses are so well known that it's not a problem. In other words, the problem of doing things by heart is the verses that are not well known. These verses are known by everyone. Everyone knows the verses of creation. I don't know if you could say it nowadays, but at least in that time, it was the Maisa Bereshis was very well known, the at least the verses, and therefore it's a verse that's very shugur, that's very well known. It would be like Ashrei, I guess, nowadays. Everyone knows Ashrei. Excuse me. So like such a verse, you would be allowed to read by heart, at least according to according to this view. Now, the other way of understanding this is that even though you're not allowed normally to read something by heart, but it seems that this was a exception to the rule that on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol, read certain things by heart, and that also seems to be like a exception to the rule. Like there's some leniency that the rabbis had in order uh, to allow a certain exception to the rule that normally you can't read things by heart, but this would be different. This would be exception to that rule. Anyway, the bottom line is that mincha is read by heart, but musaf is really like shachris, and it's read from a scroll. Um, it's interesting. This prohibition of reading things by heart is learned from a verse, and the verse is basically teaching us two things: that you're not supposed to do the written Torah by heart, and you're not supposed to do the oral Torah in writing. In other words, the oral Torah is supposed to be kept oral. The written Torah is supposed to be kept written. And that's why, when you recite a pasuk, really, the proper way to recite a pasuk is read it inside, or at least if you're being mitzi people, if you're having other people in mind. But anyway, these are these two teachings are really learned in the same place. They learned basically from the same verse that dvarim shebachsav, you're not allowed to say by heart. Things that are balped, things that were the oral Torah, that's supposed to be only when it's the oral Torah is supposed to be only oral and not written down. Now, what's interesting is that the law of the written Torah is mainly when you're teaching it. That teaching it to others, that's really the problem, as we see with Rabbi Yossi, that he said to say it yourself by heart is not a problem, but to say it in public and be might see someone and teach it to someone, or to have someone else in mind, which is similar to teaching. So that's where the problem is. And the same thing seemingly applies the opposite and the other side of the coin. And that is when you're not allowed to write things down, like the oral Torah, even though nowadays, of course, it's permitted to write it down because the rabbis saw that we were forgetting the whole Torah, and they saw a great need for there to be a permit to be able to write down. I'm sorry. They saw a great need to be able to write down the oral Torah. Now, but officially, it's not supposed to be written down. But the question is, were they allowed to write it down for personal use? So seemingly, it works both ways. That just like they were allowed to say a verse by heart for personal use, you're just not allowed to do it when you're being mitzi other people, when you're having other people in mind. So the same thing seemingly would apply the opposite side of the coin, that you would be allowed to write down your personal notes. And it's just when you're teaching the Torah to public, you can't use those notes. You can't read it. You can't, that you wouldn't be allowed to read it from those notes before the permit was given that we're allowed to, write down the oral Torah. But otherwise, so if besides for that, the personal notes would seemingly would be allowed, and the prohibition would be teaching it in public with those notes. I think the Rambam writes that the great rabbis used to have notes that their personal notes, and that was not a contradiction to the oral Torah, as even though the Torah was meant to be oral, but they had their different rabbis had their notebooks that they would do their research with. Okay, so anyway, that's the story over here about uh, writing down, doing things by heart. Like, the not the musaf, but the mincha. The mincha service was done by heart. And then the Gemara said that a day that has Hallel doesn't have Maimed. There are basically some exceptions to the rules of the Ma'amodos. The Gemara wants to know. The Gemara was asked this question. It says Ma hefresh bein zeh, which meant what's the difference between mincha and ne'ilah? Why is the korban eitzim only knock off the ne'ilah, not the mincha? And the Gemara's answer is that there's a difference between things that are midivrei seifrim, midivrei Torah, and things that are midivrei seifrim. What does that mean? That things that are from the Torah, something that's sourced in Torah, and that would be like the mincha davening. We don't want to push off the ma'amodos of the mincha davening. That's considered more significant and important. But to push off the ma'amodos, the extra prayers of the Ne'ilah service, that's not such a big deal to push that off, because this is only of rabbinic in origin, and therefore the ma'amodos would knock off we would remove ma'amodos from the Ne'ilah service. So that basically is where we're up to, I think. Yeah. Right? That's what we got up to. Yeah, that's where we're up to. So we are on page Laf Ches 28a. And we're right by the two dots. Two dots on 28a. If you have the art scroll, I tell you where we are. (28a1) on the second column. Second column, maybe about 10 lines from the top of the page. Okay. Zman Atze Kayanim Ba'am, the time of the Atze Kayanim, the wood celebration for the Kayanim and the people celebrated the wood celebration. And the Gemara brings a brisa. Tana Rabbana, rabbis learned in a brisa. Why does it have to say the time of the Atze Kayanim and the the time of this festival where the Kohanim brought the wood, the Kohanim in the nation, they would make a holiday out of this wine, out of this wood bringing ceremony, or wood bringing the celebration. So why did they? What was the reason for this? So the Brisa continues. It says, Amru, they said, the rabbi said, Shalom b'nei Agoyla, when the exiles went up to Eretz Yisrael, and this was during the right during the exile when they went back to Eretz Yisrael, Kisha'olu b'nei Hagoyla, loy matzu eitzim b'lishka, they didn't find any wood in the lishka, the chamber. So v'amdu elo v'snad b'shalahem. These people got up and they donated. And the prophets among them made a condition, even if the lishkas, that chamber where they would normally keep the wood, that even if it was full with wood, these families continue to donate on their own. Shem, as it says, Ipalnu al korban eitzim akainim alvim, that the kainim, the Levium, and the nation, they would make a goyrol, like a raffle, for the wood offering. Lahavi lebeis alakena, to bring to the house of Hashem, our God. Lebeis avaseinu leitim azumanim shana b'shana. So they would bring it to the Beis Aviseinu, to the according to their families, according to our families, that each the official time, itim mizumanim, or the prepared, the planned time, shana b'shana, every year. Levaira al mizbach Hashem alekenu kakosep Torah, to burn it on the mizbeach of Hashem our God, as is written in the Torah. This is a pasuk in Nehemiah. It had to do with the people going up to Eretz Yisrael, and the fact that they brought these the fact that they donated this wood donation to the Beis Hamikdash. It's a whole discussion in the poskim about in the halachic authorities, if a person is chosen as gabbai in a shul, like let's say he takes on a certain position there, so does he get a chazaka? Does he become like the official? Is he muhsak? Is he sort of like set for that position? And generally, the understanding is yes. So let's say someone was given chosen to be the gabbai, and they didn't tell him that there's a time limit. It's a 5-year position. They told him, we'd love for you to be our gabbai. You're the best guy. So it turns out that he becomes muhsak with that job, and if they ever want to kick him out, it's not going to be so simple. They sort of have to keep him. Unless there's reason for it, and he's doing a bad job. But under normal circumstances, he has a chazaka, and you can't just have someone else or sell that position, or you just give it away to someone else. He has a chazaka on it. What happens if he wasn't chosen for that position? He just took it on, and he's been doing it for years. Does he create a chazaka in that scenario? In other words, if he wasn't chosen for it, but he was always doing it, so does he get the chazaka of continuing? And this is very applicable in shuls, and it applies in other areas as well. Like for example, I service many of the nursing homes. So if I've been doing it for a number of years, would someone else be able to pop in there and read the Megillah instead of me, and arrange with the people in charge? They want to read the Megillah this year. or they want to. Seemingly, there would be some type of a chazaka that I've been doing it for many years, and I blow the walk all the way there for many years to blow the shofar, and I sort of have a chazaka. On the other hand, no one really appointed me. It wasn't like the community appointed me, and therefore maybe there's room to say that it's not really a chazaka, because I picked up this position on my own. Do I have a chazaka or not? The laws of chazaka, the laws of having ownership of such a position, there is a term used, chazaka she'ein imataina, a chazaka that you have no claim to. And that case has to do with a person who has been living in a house or on a field and a property for 3 years, and no one complained. And normally we say, well, if the owner, if he didn't really sell the property, he should have complained when he saw you sitting on his property. Right? This is the monetary laws in Tractate Baba Basra, you find it. So these laws are not just monetary, real estate laws, but the law is that if I bought the house from you, and I've been living there for 3 years, so the owner comes and says, "What do you mean? This is my house." I could say, "You sold it to yes, it was your house. You sold it to me. I've been living here 3 years. I have witnesses that I've been here for 3 full years, and you sold it to me." And he'll say, "Well, where's your contract?" I could say, "Well, after 3 years, I lost my contract. It's been a while, and I have witnesses that I've been there for 3 years, and you never protested. You never claimed that it's not true." So that is considered good enough to prove a chazaka. And what happens? Why is that? The reason that works is because I'm claiming a very valid claim. I bought it from you. If I have a valid claim, I bought this property from you. Okay, I don't have the contract, but I did buy it from you, and I've been there for 3 years. I have the chazaka. I'm proving that I have a chazaka, and I have witnesses that you never protested. Now, if he would have protested during those 3 years, I would have been more careful to keep my documents, because I see he's already putting up a protest claiming it's his, but he really sold it to me, but he thinks it's his, or he's lying and wants to claim it's his. But whatever it is, I would have been more careful. He didn't protest, therefore I didn't keep my document. But I have a claim there. So I have a chazaka to a claim, chazaka that in other words, I've been here for 3 years and you didn't fight it. And the claim, I paid money and bought it from you. That's a good claim. What about doing taking a position of gabbai? The guy comes into this show, and no one seems to be at the bima. They're reading the Torah. So some guy goes up there, and he wants to read the Torah, and he wants to be the gabbai, and starts doing it. No one stops him, and he does it for 3 years or whatever, who knows how long. And so now they want to tell him, we really want to give this position to someone else. He says, "What do you mean? I'm the gabbai. I've been here for 3 years." So the thing is, who made you the gabbai? So there's a machlekes in the Paiskim, if that's called a chazaka she'ein imataina. Is that called a chazaka where you don't have a claim to it? You've been doing it for 3 years, true. But do you own it? Did anyone appoint you? Were you given that position? So it seems to be a machlekes. It seems to be a debate between the later Paiskim if that is considered a claim. So here also, our Gemara seems to be a little proof that they bring this as a proof. Actually, the Paiskim want to bring this as a proof. The fact that these people came and donated wood to the Beis Hamikdash. No one asked them to. At least we don't know that they were asked to. And they went and decided to donate wood. Did they have a chazaka that becomes their holiday? So it seems here that they kept this chazaka, continued. Like for even though they don't need wood later, they still like kept it as a chazaka. So it seems like there's a source that someone takes on a certain mitzvah, he sort of becomes the muhzak. It becomes the becomes like the official owner of that position, person in charge of that position. That's what seems like you see that over here with these the koyanim, the donors for the atze of the eitzim, the woods that they donated, and everyone celebrated, and they would continue every year, years later, appointed time, year by year, to burn the wood for the Beis Hamikdash. All right, so that's that's this Zman Atze Koyanim Ba'am, and there was 9 times in the year when that was celebrated. And now the Gemara jumps to the story of Goin Ve Eli and Koitze B'nei Koitze Ketzios. So let's continue in the Gemara. The Gemara continues and says, V'mayim koyanim ulaviyim, and with them, the koyanim and the Leviyim, and anyone that was not sure of their tribe, or their, which family they were connected to, family of the Goin Ve Eli and the Koitze B'nei Koitze Ketzios. So B'nei Goin Ve Eli means the family of the pestle smugglers, and B'nei Koitze Ketzios is the people of the family of. B'nei doesn't necessarily mean the sons; it could mean the family of the Koitze Ketzios, of those that cut the figs. Amru, they said, the rabbi said, Pa'amachas. This is a brisa. The brisa says, Ma hoyu b'nei goin ve'elu b'nei koitzi. Tanu Rabbanan. Let me start again. Tanu Rabbanan. The rabbis learned in a brisa. We are, if you're looking at a regular Gemara, we're on page 28a by the 2 dots, by the last narrow line. Tanu Rabbanan. If you're in the art scroll, 28a1, the last paragraph. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught in a brisa. Ma hayu b'nei goin ve'elu b'nei koitze ketzios. What were these people? Who were they? What did they do? What is this term? Smuggled pestle smuggler, and the fig cutters. What's this all about? So Amru, they said, Pa'amachas. This is very interesting for us because we're learning the book of Kings. We just learned about the Yeravam and Rechavam 2 months ago. So Amru, they said, Pa'amachas gazra malchus zeira Yisrael. Once happened that they made a decree against the Jewish people, and that they shouldn't bring wood for the ma'aracha, the pile, for the pile on the, which was on the mizbeach. They shouldn't bring wood. And they can't donate wood. They can't bring bikurim. They can't bring the first fruits to Jerusalem. Normally, after a person has in his field first fruits that the seven species that Israel is blessed with, you're supposed to take from the first ripened fruits and bring it, tie something around it, and you end up bringing it when it ripens. You bring it to Yerushalayim. Now, the problem was that, well, first of all, the law of Bikurim, we say it really every day in davening. Elu dvarim she'en lahem shira pe'ava Bikurim, that there's no limit. So it doesn't say exactly how much you have to bring, but you bring from your dates and from your figs and from your they would bring from each of the seven species to Yerushalayim, and as the Mishnah says, there's no exact limit. They would bring it. That was the normal thing. The only problem is what happens when there's a gzeira that you're not allowed to bring it to Yerushalayim. They made a decree not to bring bikurim. They also made not to bring eitzim to the ma'aracha. So v'hishivu pruzdois al hadrachim. They put some type of uh, guards. They put they hired these guards. Prozdois is Aramaic for guards. Shomer al hadrachim on the roads. Kederach shahishav Yeravam ben Nevat, similar to the way Yeravam ben Nevat had stationed police to block the option of people traveling from the northern kingdom to the southern kingdom. And of course, Yeravam ben Nevat, with his ego, couldn't handle it, and couldn't handle that people will end up going to the other kingdom and they'll see the greatness of Rechavam and how he's the only one who's allowed to sit there. And ultimately, it was how Yeravam is second class. It would have been very embarrassing. So he decided to get around this whole problem. He put guards. No one's allowed to go. And he also made these made these images of he made these calves that people were going to use would have for their sacrifices. So he made these type of idols, so to speak, where people would go there and bring their sacrifices. So the Yeravam did this, and then there was a time that they made a similar thing, but the Goyim did it, which is similar to this idea that we often find that we are the cause of the tsaris, that the enemies that the Goyim, the anti-Semites have, because we do it to ourselves. We give energy to the Goyim. And it says the same way Yeravam ben Nevat did it. So it was during the second Beis Hamikdash, the Greeks or whoever was in charge over there, the Romans. So they made a decree that we're not allowed to go and travel, bring these bikurim and bring the wood. Now they bring down over here that according to the Tosefta, it was during the Greek-Syrian time, and like Yerushalmi, it says it took place during the reign of Yeravam over the kingdom of Israel during the first Beis Hamikdash, and then they bring the Duke Seifrim that says it's Rome. So it seems like there's a difference of opinion as when exactly this happened. It's interesting that Yerushalmi wants to learn that this actually happened with Yidden. We'd have to take a look over there in Yerushalmi how that fits with the wording, because the way we have it worded, it says Gozra Hamalchus Gzeira al Yisrael. Sounds like a kingdom that's not Jewish made a decree against the Jewish people. But anyway, this is the story. So the Yidden were not able to travel, and so it says Ma Asu Sheren Shabaise Adar B'Yerechet. What did the righteous ones, or the ones that fear sin, what did they do of that generation? So it says Haviu Sali Bikurim. They took their baskets of Bikurim, Bechipum Bekatzios, and they covered they covered them with the dried figs, and on the Tolum, and they carried them. They took them, but Eli al Kasfeya, and carried it on their shoulders. I'm sorry, with a pestle on their shoulders. They carried that, and they took the Eli al Kasfeya. The Eli is this pestle that was on their shoulders. When they reached these guards, Amr Lahem, they said to them, where are you going? shelafanenu. We are going to we're going to use the mortar that is nearby and before us. In other words, it's somewhere near here. And we're going to make shnei igule devela, two cakes of figs. I'm not exactly sure what this looked like, but I'm guessing that it's similar to the figs. When if you ever see in the stores, sometimes they have these figs like in a round container. So there seems to be that was like very popular, round cake of figs. So they would somehow press it together, and I don't know if that's the way they ate it or that's somehow. Anyway, that's what they would do with these figs. They would have igule. Eagle means a circle. They would have a circle of these figs, and they would press it. They would put pressure on it and push it together with this mortar and pestle, and that's how they. So they were claiming that we're going nearby. There's the mortar is not too far, and that's what we're about to do. Uve ele sha'al kasveno, with the pestle that's on our shoulder. Even sha'avru mehen, and once they passed, itrum besalom beheviam liyushalayim, they decorated the the bikurim and in the baskets, and beheviam liyushalayim, and they brought them to Yerushalayim. So they used the pestle to uh, as a means of tricking the border guards, and they were called the Goinve Eli, the stealers of the Eli, of the pestle. They would deceive the deceivers with the pestle. So that was their trick, and they would celebrate as well at this point. Now, Tana taught in a brisa, hein b'nei salmai hanasoifasi, that this is also the story of Salamai from Nesoifas. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbis taught in a brisa, Mahin b'nei Salmai hanasoifasi, who were the family of Salamai from Nesoifas. So it says, Amru, they said, one time he made a decree against the Jewish people, and that they can't bring wood for the pile of the top of the altar, and Shivu Prisdois al Drachim, and they put these guards on the roads. Similar to Yeravam, who stationed the guards on the pathways. Shloyalu Yisrael the regel, in order that the Yidden will not be oila regel. What should they do? So in other words, they prevented them, that they didn't want them to go to Shalayalu, that like Yeravam ben Nevat did, that he didn't want the people to go be oila regel again. It was all about his ego. He was going to be embarrassed that Rechavam will be able to be there sitting down. I'm going to be nothing, and I'm going to be secondary to him. And he didn't like this whole idea. So the same thing is the time of this Bnei Salmai Han Saifasi. So they said this is what happened. They made a decree not to bring eitzim. So, and they even had border police there. Ma asu Adar. So one of the people who feared the sin, what did they do in that generation? It says a view gzireyan ba'asu sulamis. They brought the woods and they made ladders from the woods. Ve'inichu al kisveim. They put the ladders on their shoulders. Ve'hoilchu lahen, and they went with these with these ladders, they went on their way. And Kivan Shegiu Etzlon, when they reached the guards, Amru Lahem. So the guards said to them, where are you going? Amru Lahem, they said, Lahavi Goizals Mishevach Shalafanenu. We're going to get the goizalos, the pigeons from the shayvach, like the area, the thing that they're kept in, that they're like near their nest nearby their container that's not far from here. It's before us. Mishevach shalafanenu. It just means that it's like nearby. So v'sulame shalkesfenu. We're going to use the ladders and we're going to climb up and get them. And the Kivan Sha'avru Mehen, since they got through this border police, Pirikum Vavium Vehelam Nishlam. So they made the wood into ladders and then they just took it apart. And they were able to then donate the wood to the Beis HaMikdash because they got through they used their trick. So about these people and people similar to them, we say this pasuk Zecher Tzadik Levracha, mentioning that Tzadik is for a blessing. Now, about Yeravam ben Nevat v'chaveirav Namar, about Yeravam and his friends, it says the Shem Rishon Yerkov, the name of the wicked will rot. Okay, now comes the Gemara. It now talks about the next part of the Mishnah, and it says over there that Be'esrim boy, on the 20th day of that month, which is the month of Menachem Av, so it says B'nei Pachas Moyav ben Yehuda, the children of the Pachas Moyav ben Yehuda. So the Gemara says, I'm sorry, Tana, let me start again. Tana, we learned in the Tana taught in a brisa. B'nei Pachas Moyav ben Yehuda, Hein, B'nei David ben Yehuda. This is the same family as the children of David ben Yehuda. And in other words, it's David HaMelech. That's David HaMelech's family. That's now Divrei Reb Meir. These are the words of Reb Meir. Let's just look back in the Mishnah just 1 second. The Mishnah had said on 26b, no 26a. Let's just no 26b, 26b, no 26a, bottom of 26a. What does it say over there? So you had all these dates, right? So we have Echad ben Nisan b'nei Arach ben Yehuda, Esrim Tammuz b'nei David ben Yehuda, and basically means the descendants of King David, but calls it David ben Yehuda. Okay, so that was on
26A or 28A?
20th day of Tammuz was b'nei David ben Yehuda. 20th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the pages still.
Yeah. The 20th day, yeah, it was B'nai David ben Yehuda. But then again, the Mishnah ends off over there. The 20th of Av was Pachas Mayav ben. So it's interesting that it's all the tribe of Yehuda. They're all. So anyway, it says that the B'nai Pachas Mayav ben Yehuda, which was the 20th of Av, seems to be the same as the 20th of Tammuz. It says really one family. That's Reb Meir's opinion. Reb Meir. Yosi Hein, B'nai Yoyav ben Sruya. It's really it's a family of Yoyav ben Sruya, who we also learned about a lot in the Tanakh, which was a nephew of David HaMelech. So in other words, what the Gemara is trying to figure out is, what does this mean, Pachas Mayav? Pachas Mayav, there's a pasuk that we learn about about not bringing some donation to Hashem that's not high quality. Like you're not gonna give a gift that you bought at the 99-cent store, right? So that wouldn't be appropriate. So, so the pasuk that's used that mentions such a thing, you know, is called. What is going on here? I'll mute everyone. There's a pasuk hakrivehu nol pechasecha. Would you bring this to your governor? So pechasecha is someone in charge, some governor. So here it's b'nei pachas Mayav, the governor of Mayav. So what does that refer to? So so who is that? So David HaMelech came from Rus, so it's Rus came from Mayav, so it's the governor of Mayav, so to speak. In other words, these are the children of Rus, basically. So it calls it and the Brisa it says that refers to David HaMelech, and it's his family, his descendants, or whatever they brought the wood. So it's called the Pachas Mayav. That's where Meir's opinion. Yosi says, you know who it really specifically refers to is really Yoav ben Tzruya. Also comes from Rus, because his mother was David HaMelech's sister, Tzruya. Tzruya was the mother, and so it's basically, according to Rabbi Yosi, it's referring to Rus. That's who it's referring to. In other words, the Gemara is explaining B'nei Pachas Mayav, that where did that name, where did Pachas Mayav come from? You're basically referring to Rus, and that's why she's called by this. That's why she's called by. That's why it's the term is Pachas Mayav. Okay, Be'esrim be'elul b'nei Odin ben Yehuda. So on the 20th of Elul was the family of Odin ben Yehuda. Okay. And that's interesting. That's where the name Adin comes from. Not such a popular name, Adin. But Rabbi Steinsaltz's first name was Adin. That's it, right here. The 20th of Elul, Adin ben Yehuda. So so the Gemara brings the line in the Mishnah that Be'esrim be'elul is b'nei Adin ben Yehuda. The Gemara says Tana Rabbanon, the rabbis taught in Brisa b'nei Adin ben Yehuda, hein b'nei David ben Yehuda. So it really is referring to the same family that we're calling it Adin. Even though it's really referring to David. He had an extra name, and Rashi goes through and says that when he was Isaac and Torah, he was that Bishah Isaac B'Torah, the time that he was Isaac, he was toiling and learning Torah. So he uses this word Ma'adein Atzmai Ketailas. Which he would somehow adorn himself like a tailas, a worm. When he would go out to war, he would strengthen himself like a tree. So what does that mean? It means that he was called Adina. Well, there's Adinoi Ha'etzni is the term used in Sefer Shmuel. Adinoi Ha'etzni, and should take a look. So it's basically referring to David. Let me just see one thing here. Okay, I don't know. Okay, so then the the Gemara continues and says, these are the words, Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi Amar Hein Hein B'nei Yoav ben Tzruya. This is referring to B'nei Yoav ben Tzruya. So King David HaMelech is called Adinai Ha'etzni, and the Gemara explains it that he studied Torah. He was Adin. Adin means like edel in Yiddish, like very soft, very edel. It's Adin. And so he was when he would study Torah, he was he was humble, so to speak, and flexible. Ma'adin atzmei k'teilas, and ma'adin. I guess adorn is not really the perfect word. It's from adin is it's from the word adin, not ma'adin. But then it says that he was also etzni from the word eitz. Okay, fine. So that's he would be like hard like wood. But okay. So anyway, so they basically donated. That's the word that referring to Adin ben Yehuda is basically David. Now Rabbi Yossi wants to say that this is referring to Yoav ben Tzruya, and that it's based on that pasuk in Shmuel, if Adinai Ha'etzni is referring to Yoav. Okay, whatever, that's the machlokes really there, and according to that, it would basically end up being a difference over here, which family it was that donated the wood to the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, well, let's continue. So we have Bechab B'Tevei Shaboy B'nei Parush Shnia. So we had a one of the dates where the B'nei Parush, they brought a second time. They did it twice. They donated wood. So the Gemara says, Mani Masnisin, who's our Mishnah go like? Reb Meir, Reb Yehuda, Reb Yossi. That doesn't go like anyone. It doesn't go like Reb Meir, not Reb Yehuda, not Reb Yossi. Reb Meir, if it would go like Reb Meir, B'nei David, Ben Yehuda, Shnia. Let it mention about B'nei David, Ben Yehuda a second time. And that they returned a second time. In other words, listening that it should learn about the second time of David. Rabbi Yehuda, if it follows Rabbi Yehuda, listening Shavu b'nei David ben Yehuda Shnia, it should also have mentioned the additional time. In other words, the time of Adin, which we were saying meant David. And so that means David came a second time according to that opinion as well, a different time, but they also came twice. And he Rabbi Yossi, listening Shavu b'nei Yoav ben Tzruya Shnia. If it's Rabbi Yossi, it should say that it's b'nei Yoav ben Tzruya the second time. So who does the Mishnah go like that? It mentions about b'nei Parush, but it doesn't mention the other ones. So the Gemara says Lolam Rabbi Yossi really goes Rabbi Yossi. Trei Tanai lived Rabbi Yossi. There's really two opinions according to Rabbi Yossi, and there's two opinions as to what Rabbi Yossi really said, and so our version of our Mishnah is following that opinion of Rabbi Yossi, that he held that it was the only time that it went the second time was this B'nei Parush from Yehuda ben Yehuda, that they came a second time. But there are other opinions here, and we see David HaMelech maybe came twice, or Ben Tzruya came twice, and so there are other views as to how many times did these people donate wood to the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, I guess we'll stop here, and have a wonderful day, everyone. Sei gesund.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
You, Rabbi.
Good. Thank you, Rabbi.